Commissioner Gordon and all and stuff.
Yeah.
Do you feel there's any like pressure compared to other people that have donned that role, or is it just kind of like you just did your own thing and just?
I just do my own thing. I just get in there and kind of feel it out. Just do it one step at a time, like any other acting role for me. You know, if anything, I think Gary Oldman in the big leagues kind of showed me the kind of depth that this guy could have. So I think it would be pretty easy to do Commissioner Gordon sort of one-dimensionally because he's just this. He doesn't get a lot of credit for who he is, but I think he's just a guy who cares deeply about the people of his city and does everything he can to try to help them. And that's how you approach it, and that's how I would do it.
Yeah.
I, Bruce, as opposed to developing some weird character.
Yeah.
So, in what ways do you sort of relate to or empathize with your character and their journey during the events of this film?
Well, I have not even seen the film yet, so I'm one step behind in that regard. So sorry about that. We did this 2 years ago, and I'm trying to remember exactly what the arc of the story is. But I will say that I think Commissioner Gordon's pretty much at his wit's end in this, in that there's so much going on. It's so full of mystery, so dark, and he just really doesn't know what's going on. So that's what I remember about it, and that's what I'm hoping that comes across.
You don't remember a favorite moment from the movie that you're looking forward to the fans?
I saw the moment in the trailer where he says, "Can't we just have a nice quiet weekend?" Which is a great. It looked great and it sounded great. I don't actually have any great anecdotes to give you about that.
What type of research did you do to get in character?
I don't really do a lot of research, to be honest. I know that'll break hearts, but any budding actors. But I, like I was trying to allude to before, I think I just put myself. I've done so many DC Comics worlds that it's easy for me now to just kind of throw myself into this dark world of what's happening. It's a familiar place for me to be. And Gordon's perspective is he's just trying to figure it all out and do the right thing. And I sort of make it as simple as possible in that way. So I don't have to do a whole lot, I don't think, on top of it. I think it's very human to be in a position that he's in and to really care.
Yeah.
And that's the angle I take.
Normally, Commissioner Gordon kind of just carries the story along a little bit, but he's pretty integral to this story. Do you remember any of the... Are you familiar with the source?
So bad. I know. I asked the publicist this morning. I said, "What are my talking points?" He said, "Oh, I forgot to send you the film, didn't I?" So yeah. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
No, but you mentioned your whole experience with doing all this DC animated stuff. What did you jumping in on this kind of animated stuff? What was your kind of first impression?
Back when I started,
Yeah,
or
back when you started leading up to now, like what was your kind of first impression?
well, my first employment in the DC world was I actually am an official Batman. So I was on camera. I played Batman in the OnStar commercials back in 2000, 2001, 2002. I wore Michael Keaton's suit with the yellow insignia, and so that I did a bunch of research on. Just finding out who Batman was from an actor's perspective, and that darkness and that dark world, and all that research brought me into this soup of darkness that I just fell in love with. And then subsequently, I've been hired in nothing but the DC Comics universe as opposed to the Marvel universe. So I haven't even done anything for Marvel. I've always just done DC Comics, and I think there's some sort of thing that I have in my blood for this world.
Clearly like it.
Yeah, I guess so.
I mean, clearly.
Yeah. Justice League and Green Lantern.
How do you feel about voice acting as opposed to on-screen acting?
It's so freeing for me. It's so freeing because everything has to come through this one part of your instrument, and so there's no hiding, there's no faking, there's no making a face to cover your lack of preparedness. You have to bring it, and I think for any actors out there that are listening, voice acting is the most naked and vulnerable you'll ever be in a performance, because you can hear everything. First of all, you can hear all the nerves, you can hear everything. So your craft has to be really rock solid. And then when you do the actual performance, as opposed to on camera, you're growing and pushing and sort of doing a little bit more, so that to make sure every bit of that intent is expressed. And that's what I like about it.
Do you have a standard process that you follow in order to prepare for voice acting, regardless of what character?
Well, yeah, I do a lot of vocal exercises and things like that to loosen everything up and to be more expressive and open and more in touch with myself, and then I start. And then the voice world is so fast moving. You'll get material, and then in 5 minutes you'll have to be full performance. It's cold reading most of the time, and so it forces that part of you to be really sharp and present. And it's probably really the only thing. If I have some strong character to do, I will do a lot of research.
Favorite voice actor that you look up to, emulate, idolize?
Wow. As a kid, I fell in love with Peter Coyote's voice and doing all that narrating. Donald Sutherland is incredible. I tend to fall in love with these old sages, just the guys that have been around, and you can hear it in everything they speak about. I love it. You know, all the British guys. Yeah, I mean, all the hobbits and the wizards, all those guys. I love it.
Any music you listen to before you get into character?
Music. That's a good tool to use. Yes, there are things. Specifically, what music?
Yes.
I usually do music for emotional content. Like if I have, and I'll do this for on camera too. If I have emotions that I need available to me that I don't normally walk around with every day or have on my surface, I will. There's some Wilco stuff. I love Wilco, and it's going to sound odd. I don't know. It's out of left field, but Wilco does it for me. I can cry in an instant listening to some of their songs. I love it, and I use that. Throw the ear pads in and go.
Nice.
Thank you so much.
Me too. It's fun.
I had a question.
Okay.
I feel like every DCA film has had like a sense of humor and fun about it, even like darker stories like the Judas Contract. So was that the plan this time around as well, considering the sort of somber nature of the source material?
Well, I think that you have to have some humor to leaven what are basically dark stories, because you're kind of attracted to those. You know, the Dark Knight Returns, stuff like that. You're like, oh, that'll be good, right? Because Saturday morning cartoons, the half hour, the 11-minute, they're kind of fun and bouncy. So with these long forms, they go for more adult stuff. But as far as me, as a writer, I'm always throwing in the joke, the kind of the Lethal Weapon type, you know, humor, where they could just die, but Mel Gibson's making jokes, you know, and Danny Glover's bantering with them as they're in this gunfight, you know. So I think that, you know, the heroes, they are at their core, you know, kind of human also. So yeah, we're giving some humor too to kind of dispel the darkness a little bit.
What's the process to condense? Kind of like, I mean, it's like 12 issues. Comic art. So how do you go about condensing all that to like an hour and a half, hour 45, 2 hours?
First of all, I wish there were 2 hours.
Some of them have.
Yeah. Most of these go in at they go for 72 plus credits, so there's 75 to 80. But that's one of the key problems, is the lack of time. So we knew that we were going to have to do some big editing. It is 12 issues of comic, right? And so you start paring away kind of the lesser trunks of the story, I guess, to get to the main thing. And and part of that is the Batman Catwoman love story, you know, and you want that to be really strong, and then all of this stuff happens in it. So really, you know, it's I don't know. It's kind of a bat and cat 9.5 weeks. You know, you can leave your cowl on, right? Now the story, all the bad stuff happens to Batman and Bruce Wayne inside this relationship that he's trying to keep going. Finally, he's at the point of like, I need more than chasing around wackos. All right, like I got to have the other half of my life, and so that was less important. To have the next rogue in it was less important than keeping that section of the story intact. You know, I mean, keeping that strong.
How did the opportunity to present itself to you?
You know what? They just asked me. I got a call. They're like, "Hey, we're doing a Batman." I'm like, "Oh, I love Batman." You know, what's it going to be? Because it could be anything, right? And I knew it. They had knocked off some other big ones while I was away, but then they go, "Oh, you're going to be doing Batman Hush," and I'm like, "Holy moly! I am." Wow, you know, I mean, this is like just from luck. It was fantastic. I'm in. You know, when do we start? Let's go.
Besides the editing and cutting out stuff, were you able to add anything or put your mark on it in any way in the story?
Well, yeah, there are all these tweaks once you get rid of things. There are some tweaks that need to happen. We put our mark on it in a pretty big way. You're gonna have to wait a little while, but there are some characters that I thought deserve a little beef up, and one of those is Nightwing. You know, so but there is, if you're going to do the Rogues Gallery, they pop up, Batman solves them, knocks them down, and they kind of go on the shelf. So it's like every scene was kind of important in that, okay, I've got the Joker for one scene. I've got Superman for like 1.5 scenes, you know? Like these have to shine. So it really focuses you, I guess.
If you could adapt any DC property that you haven't done before, what would it be?
I read this book I really liked. It's called The War of Jokes and Riddles that I would love to do. I thought it would be really cool, you know. And boy, they got a lot of stuff. There's some, I'm forgetting his name now. God, it's gone. Sorry, I'm a little nervous. But yeah, I'll stick with War of Jokes and Riddles. I'd love to do.
Is there a character in Hush that you wish you could have wrote a little bit more for?
Oh boy, I mean, you always love writing for the Joker. You know, I could have done an entire movie. You know, obviously a Joker movie. One that I think I haven't gotten a chance to do a lot of, and I wonder if it would be, if we could get into him for an entire film, would be Scarecrow. You know, I think he appears in the Rogues Gallery thing where he's there, he's gone. And I'm like, I would have liked to see more of him. You know, the actor that voiced him did a fantastic job. You know, so I was like, oh, should have had more. You know.
I mean, you mentioned the whole thing about guys who 70, 75, 80 minutes and stuff. Is there kind of like a situation where you can actually extend the time? Like, hey, can you give us an hour and a half to tell the story? Or is it just strictly, hey, this is what you did?
Well, that's a James Tucker question.
Okay,
yeah. Like, you know, they're like,
as a writer, I would feel you might be able to.
well, you know, the thing is, I don't edit myself. I hand in a thing that could be a 2-hour story, and then they gotta chop down the parts they like. So I chop down the comic to where they can, to get it into the ballpark, and they do the fine tuning then to get it to the release length that Warner Brothers wants from them. You know, so. So yeah.
I mean, as a, even with this movie, you sit back like, okay, we're good. You know, you're kind of satisfied, or is it just kind of like you want more and actually watch the movie?
Well, I think this one turned out fantastic, and we'll see. We'll see if you guys are satisfied. But I am very satisfied with the way this one turned out. You know, I actually think it's my favorite of the ones that I've done.
So you have seen them?
Yes. Yeah.
I know not everyone is involved with it has seen it yet. So.
Yeah, you know, they hand out links and stuff. Sure, actors can blow that stuff off, but I mean, the writer can't. It's like, I'm going to be like, you know what, there was an incredible Poison Ivy scene, and then someone will be like, no, that's all gone, that's all gone. I'm like, what? Like, I have to see what's in there. So, yeah, no, I am a nerd. I was going to this thing before I was writing cartoons and kid shows, just as a fan. I liked it, you know, so I used that link, I watched it 3 or 4 times, you know, I was like, oh yeah, look at this, oh, look how they framed that, and I was geeking out while I was watching. Can't wait to see it on a big screen. I don't know if we get a chance. Maybe I'll stick around for the encore showing, you know, when everybody else goes to dinner and watch it again, you know, with some fans. Well, just, you know, we are working on something, but I cannot say anything. I think you guys will be very pleased. You know what? There's going to be an announcement today. So, you know, there always is at this one where they tell you what's coming out in next year. So I'm wondering if something that I did will be out next year. Like, is it going to make New York, or is it pushed to 2021, you know? So yeah, so I'm hoping too. I'm gonna be like,
Is there inspiration from other shows that you kind of like
for this?
Yeah, for this, or just anything else like Young Justice. That's a nice idea. Maybe I can do something.
You know, I guess subliminally, but with this, the source material is so great that you stick close to that. There's so much there, and remember, there was way too much of it. So I didn't need to go reaching for like, let me, you know, I really like this manga, you know. I need extra ideas here. You know, there's just like, there was too much stuff to whittle it down and still keep it going well with pacing and everything. That was kind of the hard part, you know. When this thing comes out in a 10 episode, you know, series, live action, 10 hour, you know, I'm gonna be watching it, you know. Hopefully I'll be writing on it, but this will be this version of it, and hopefully you guys will like it.
So, Hush is a character. He more or less kind of has the same upbringing as Goose, like rich guy, loving family, so kind of did at some point. So, what did you bring to that role in terms of like having kind of like things to the opposite?
In how we played it, I actually didn't do a lot of that, and I knew a little bit of the backstory, but not as much as I know now, which I think I'm glad about, because I think what I tried to do with Thomas Elliott was almost in a way include none of that, because then he just comes across as, and I've been trying to remember the question, sort of how the breakdown all went, but that he's just a really nice guy who genuinely cares for Bruce, with no history, no nastiness, no darkness. And I'm glad, however that ended up happening, I'm kind of glad, because it's that De Niro thing, is the audience will dress you up. And because the audience knows the history and the audience knows all the darkness, you don't have to do, and if there's any inkling when I was sort of doing the Thomas Elliott stuff of him not being trustworthy, then you know. It's not that the audience already doesn't know, but it's just kind of keeping it as straight as possible. And I also think that helped then with Hush, because they felt like really two separate. totally separate identities with no, don't see it coming at all, no tip in the hat kind of thing. So I've learned a lot more now. I'm glad I didn't know it then.
Yeah, it's always good.
It just helped. Yeah. So.
What was the process in sort of finding your voice for this role, or was it a case of your normal voice already being anticipated?
Probably more the latter. I'd done a movie. I was in The Killing Joke as Paris, France, so I knew them a little bit from that. So I think they are sort of trusted me as an actor to come in. They knew I could do the bad guy thing. The Elliot voice was closer to just my normal, just be a guy, you voice. And I think with Hush, I was pretty terrified because like, you can feel it. Like when you step into that room, you realize you're stepping into this world, and it's an amazing world, and it is an honor to be there. And they do not suffer fools because they are so specific about what they want. So there's it'd be interesting to hear like my first takes as Hush, because it'd be like, I'm really a bad guy. I'm really like, I don't know, like, but you just dive in. And again, I think the writing is also so strong, and because you can go look at the graphic novel, you can get, you've done your research, and the writing is so strong, they help you a lot. When the writing's good, it's done a lot of your work for you to start feeling the character just by reading it, and then you go with it. And there are plenty of mistakes made. We've been talking about today kind of how voiceover, you want to give them options, and a lot of those options suck. They're just not good, and they don't use those once. So yeah, you trip and fall. Yeah. It's just super cool, super scary, super like powerful, and yeah, like haunting. Kind of doesn't really appear in full for a while in the shadows. It's really cool. Yeah. And really, like, I look like I work out a lot. So yeah, it's cool.
Was there any imagery from the graphic novel that you used or refer to when you're doing the voice of such an iconic character?
Yeah, I mean, all of that is information. And any kind of voiceover stuff, I remember a guy who'd been doing it for a while when I started, is like, if you can get an image, grab it, because you just by shifting your position, I mean, even the Thomas Elliot stuff, he's well built, he's strong. If you stand that way, it will change your voice. If you start even if I just do this, it's going to change your voice. So both of those, just by looking at them, I think you start. I always tell my wife, like, I'm not a method actor, and she kind of looks at me like, oh, shut up. Just because the minute I start reading something, you're starting to sort of taste it and chew it and feel it and play with it. And even if you think you're not, you're absorbing. So seeing those images, and the Hush stuff was an immediate, like, oh, okay, cool. Like, this guy. And also the name. I mean, Hush does a lot of work for you. It's just like, right, what is someone who is called Hush? What is that? Because it's scary, it's quiet, it doesn't have to try hard, and so all those things started, I just got goosebumps. Like that was really informative in terms of just starting to figure out who the character is. It's just such a frightening name, right? Because it's not, so.
What goes through your mind when you see that poster? You've got yourself and back side by side.
I'm in an interview, so I'm trying to sound good and all that stuff, right? But it's like, I'm floored. Like, I can't believe I'm here. I can't believe I'm getting to be a part of this. I'm sitting here with you guys, like, and huge responsibility. Huge responsibility to the fans. It's just so cool. I mean, it's so freaking cool. We were just signing them. I was like, I can't believe I'm doing this. So. Yeah, one last question we have time for. I like all of it. I love all of it. I feel lucky that I get to keep doing it. Voiceover's cool because I think everything's probably like this, but there's something about voiceover, like you're trying to unlock a code. What's the pocket for the character, and how do you? It's not at all what I thought it was when I first started, because you can't it's how are you serving the whole thing, and yet I know you can't overdo it, you can't underdo it. It's a real tightrope of how to come across in the right way. So yeah, cool.
Voice acting idol, someone you
Oh, man. Fred Tatasciore is a guy I went to college with, and I just love what he's doing.
I like him too.
And he's a good person, you know, so he's nuts as I remember, but in a really sweet way. No, I don't know if I actually do. That's a good question. I'll get back to you on that one. Yeah, I'll get back to you on that one. I mean, getting to be with the Hamels and a lot of big names, you know, who can do it. Sometimes you look, and I'm blanking, and you look at people's IMDb credits, and you can't believe how many voices they've done, how versatile they are. It's incredible. So yeah, it's a good question. Yeah. No, I was flying blind and hoping it was working, and I mean, I looked at the novel a little bit, and a few, having done The Killing Joke, I mean, each one is different. You kind of get a feel for the world, but no, nothing. Yeah.
This is cool, isn't it? Did you guys see Hush yet? Really? Oh, you get to talk to me beforehand. Okay, well that's cool because I can't spoil anything. I have to be really. How many of you guys have read the graphic novel? Have you read it? Short Hush? Okay, yeah. So you kind of know what's going to happen already. Then fine, whatever. The alley scene is in there. So good. I love it.
I've always felt like every person that's voiced Joker, whether it's Kevin Bacon, Mark Hamill, all the different voices of Joker, so
Yeah. I think they do that on purpose because they know that it's just going to sound like that's what you were doing. And I asked them, I was like, do you want like something along the Hamill line or what are we doing here? And they go, nope, we just want you to create an iconic, your own Joker voice. And I was like, first of all, that's a huge freaking honor. So hold on, let me just take a couple of drinks, you know. But it was a huge compliment when they say that because again, I've been telling people that I always hear a voice that Joker has in my head when I'm reading the comics, you know, because I had a Joker voice in my head before Mark Hamill ever did the Joker, right? So I just wanted to share that with every DC fan, and that's kind of what this is. It's just who I feel the Joker should be. And he's a combination. You'll hear lots of different stuff that sounds kind of like stuff, but it's its own thing. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit more about the Joker in this movie.
Sure.
What should fans who've grown to like sort of love and appreciate this character expect from your take on him and this story's take on him?
Expect the unexpected. It's a little bit of a different take on. Normally, you see Joker as masterminding the whole thing or completely cool sociopath or whatever. In this comic, he's a little bit caught off guard. In the first time he meets Batman, it's a strange moment. And the audience doesn't know who Hush is at that time. So Joker is in an incredibly, I'm not going to call it vulnerable, but just sort of awkward place that you don't really get to see him inhabit very often. And I really enjoyed playing that because you don't get to see him play those notes that often. You know, you get to see him, you know, being the virtuoso of violence, or you're getting to see him, you know, full on sociopath, or just or throwing out one-liners and jokes. And none of that happens right when you first see the Joker in this movie. None of it. It's really just a different type of thing. You think it's going to be one thing, and then it's just all of a sudden it's not. And I don't want to spoil it for you because the alley scene is my favorite scene.
So this is your first time voicing the Riddler, correct?
It is.
Yes.
It's my first time in the Warner Brothers DC universe. It's a thrill.
So what do you hope to bring to the table in regards to interpreting such a popular character?
I was hoping to respect the Riddlers that came before me, particularly John Glover from the animated series, because I grew up with that and I loved that series so much. And I was hoping to be able to put a spin on it that we haven't seen before. And I think I come at it from I feel like almost like Riddler's like a millennial in a way. He thinks he's smarter than everybody else, and he wants everybody to notice it and see him, you know. And I think that works for that villain. I hope it works. We'll see.
Talk about the process of developing that voice. Is it inspired by anyone? You pull from
Yeah,
any-
you know, it's like I would listen. I went back and I tried to listen to all the Riddlers, like clips of all the Riddlers from the animated universe, like Matthew Ray Gubler, you know, and Glover, to like Gorshin, you know, the '60s television show, and even a little bit of Jim Carrey. Even though I'm like, I don't agree with the Schumacher movies. That's just me. You know what I mean? But it's like I wanted to have all that in my head and be able to then step away from it and play the character that was on the page. And I mean, the writing is so good in this storyline, and like, even though it's a very circuitous route and very much a detective story, the intentions are clear, and it's just fun to play a villain, you know. And it's funny, it's like the Batman universe, everybody's a villain. Batman's a villain, you know. He's like a hero sociopath. He's like, he's taking everything into his own hands. He thinks he knows what's right, and he's incredibly violent. He's trying to fight against. It's like I love Nightwing as a character because Nightwing is like Batman if Batman also liked like watching Netflix or something. You know what I mean? It's like Nightwing was like, oh, my favorite cheeseburger's at this place. Like Batman's like, I don't have a favorite cheeseburger. You know, it's like he's just there's such a darkness to the villains and the heroes in the DC universe in particular, and I don't know. This is such a great story because it just brings everybody out. It's like a $500 million live action movie, but animated, and nobody animates things better in this format than DC and Warner Bros. So.
I mean, one of the things I like about the Riddler more than anything else is that a lot of people don't realize like they're actually pretty smart.
Oh, yeah.
Intelligent across the board and stuff, despite like some of the gimmicks they have. So,
Yeah.
what was your kind of like? They told you, hey, you're gonna be the Riddler. What was your first thought on this kind of character?
I was thinking like, you know, I mean, Edward Nygma, he's not a physical member of the Rogues Gallery. He is that cerebral character. He's that guy that needs to be smart, needs other people to notice that he's smart, and isn't afraid to cross lines. So like, I loved the comic book. I read it actually in graphic novel format, and I just thought that to know, and I don't know if this is a spoiler, I feel like, I mean, the comic's been out there for so many years that it's like, it's not a spoiler, but it's like he's such an integral part of putting together this entire setup that it's his masterwork, you know, in a way. And it's fun to be a part of a story where like the character, I feel like the Riddler character is very much respected in this story, you know, in a way that he usually isn't. You know, so I appreciate that.
Now that you're part of the DC universe, are there any other villains that you want to play next? If there are?
Oh man, I mean, it's like, God, yeah, of course. I mean, I would play, if they asked me to play anybody else, I would play them because they're all so rich, and I have such childhood memories of all of them. You know, it's like Mr. Freeze and all of his like anger and pain coming out of love, you know, coming from love, you know. The Joker just being like just a straight psychotic and a nihilist and wanting to see everything, you know, be destroyed, but with, you know, so that for his own pleasure. I mean, Batman, like I said, sociopath, is like trying to like fill this hole he can never fill. It's like I love it now that we're in the part of like the comic book storyline where Batman has so many friends, but he still acts like he doesn't have any friends. You know what I mean? He's got so many people. He's got kids. He's got everybody dressed like Batman's around him, being like, "We love you so much," and he's like, "Let's go." You know, he's like, no, everybody's afraid to hug him, and that's what's also like amazing about this story is that we finally get to see like Batman let down one of those shields that he has up with his relationship with Catwoman. You know, it's like he's thinking about her on missions. It's one thing to be like at your job thinking about your girlfriend or your boyfriend and be like, you know, working in an office or like making hamburgers, but like to be like on the corner of a giant building like 20 stories up and like watching, you know, about to beat the crap out of people, and you're like, man, I wonder what Selena's doing. Like it's just it's so fascinating to me, you know. It's like it's his weakness, it's his kryptonite, you know, to keep it within the DC realm. Yeah, so I would love to play anybody. I would love to play Batman. I mean, yeah, I mean, there's so much. That's the thing. The Arkham Gallery is so filled with like
I mean, Zaz, you know, to get to play like Spider-Man, there's such darkness everywhere, and it's all specific.
Any pressure?
Nah, man, I'm chilling.
No. Just pressure doing it. That whole just kind of.
No. I mean, there is a sense of like you want it to be good. You know, you hope that the fans love it, and you don't know. You don't know. You know, like I know I liked it. I know our team at DC liked it. I know our team at Warner Brothers liked it. You know, this one the script was really strong. You know, when they handed it to me, James Tucker, our executive producer, worked out a lot of the kinks already. You know, so. It was exciting. It was like, yo, I get to do this. You know what I mean? So there's no pressure in that sense. I mean, the pressure is getting it done on time and under budget, you know, which I don't think we were under budget. It's huge. It's a huge movie. But just getting it in on time, you know, getting the movie out, that's where the pressure is. Now you just get to relax and talk about it, you know, so in that sense.
So Hush the comic has a really distinct art style, but the film is like a part of an established series of films with its own sort of look and feel. So how did you sort of toe the line between capturing one and the other?
Yeah, so that's probably the most difficult part about it. I've been getting that question a lot. Like, what's the hardest part? And that was it. How in the world are you going to tell a story that everybody knows, you know, but also we have our own cinematic universe. So how is this going to fit in? So when I got the script, I saw how they did it, and I'm like, this is great. I think everybody's going to be pleasantly surprised. I hope you guys like, you know, what we did. But it was a lot of fun, and I think that if you are putting a character through, you know, putting these characters through their paces, showing them in dramatic moments that tell a story, I think if you do that right, no matter what, it's going to be cool, you know. But yeah, so that was the most difficult part.
Is this your first movie for DCU?
It's the first movie I directed. I directed another film that's coming after this, which I don't think that they announced. Yeah, which is weird because it was almost 2 years ago. I can't tell you. Well done, though. Well done. But this is the first one I've directed. I was the head of story, starting with Gotham by Gaslight. Sam Liu's my mentor, put me through the ringer. And yeah, this one they called me into the office and were like, we're going to give you Hush. And I hit the ceiling. Because I was trying to break into comics when the comic came out. And I really like Jim Lee a lot. So just trying to like learn how to tell visual stories by looking at the comic has always been a part of me. So it was like full circle, going from comics to animation.
So once you found out that you got Hush, how did you approach it in your head? You've got the book, you've got people around you like Jim May and others.
Yeah.
What do you do first? How do you absorb it?
Well, I think that while you want to try to keep, you know, the iconic stuff from the comic, you want to tell the story that's on the page. You know, if you try to deviate too much, you'll run into lots of problems, you know. So a lot of like from the trailer, you can kind of see some of the iconic scenes from the comic, like Batman kissing Catwoman. We wanted to make sure like that was in there, but at the same time, to me, like your composition should follow the narrative. You should set the shot up the way that the story needs to be told for that dramatic moment. So we approached it in that sense, and then we just let the chips fall, you know. But you want to get a strong story out compositionally just based on the script, you know. But you know, I know that comic backwards and forwards, every damn line. I know it, you know. So there are some things in there where you're like, yeah, I recognize that, you know. But for the most part, we just tried to follow the narrative that was in the script.
What did you have to cut out of it that you missed the most? Or you wish you could say?
A lot of Jeffrey's lines. He played the Riddler, and it was a blast. You don't really have to direct actors that are that good, but there was a lot of stuff. We were running over time, you know, and there was a lot of stuff that kind of wasn't moving the story forward. But that's one of the biggest things I wish we could have kept. A lot of his really funny lines. He's a blast. It was a lot of fun. Is there anything else? No, the script was pretty tight. So in terms of other like action scenes or whatever, I think what we got was pretty good. So.
If you could adapt any DC property that hasn't been done in the animated series before, what would it be and why?
I think that my dream would be No Man's Land. Right, like 3 movies, huge movies. That would be insane. Cassandra Cain's one of my favorite characters, and she made her like
she came out of that storyline. I think that would be really cool. And I've heard, in the echoes of the studio that people have been asking for that, for a while. But I think for right now they're not interested. So one of these days, though, I would love to do that. It's a dream. Yeah. So the animated film was, I thought that was pretty fun. What did I do? I think I was ahead of story on that one too. The first one. No, not Assault. I came in after that. The latest one that came out. Yeah, I was ahead of story on that one. Those were cool. Yeah, that would be fun. I feel like we haven't explored everything that story could be, because for the movie, it wasn't as much of an origin story as for the animated movie, it wasn't as much of an origin story like the live action. And so I felt like we were going into this, more stories with them, with Amanda Waller as their boss or whatever, sending them on missions. That would be a lot of fun.
Whose idea was it to reverse Flash from Flashpoint?
Probably James.
Okay.
Probably James. He's a brilliant writer. He's a brilliant writer. He'll sit there and he'll be like, what this needs is this, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what? Heck yeah. And while I'm sitting there, I'll just start coming up with ideas. And then I'll go back and then bring in, he's like, no, I was thinking like this, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, I think it was James. He's a genius. He's a genius.
I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Is he here? And I was like, ooh.
Yeah, that was a good move. That was fun. So.
As director, do you drive the timeline and how long it takes to put everything together, or is that a collaborative effort between multiple?
It does end up being a collaborative effort. We do have a certain amount of footage that we can draw. So the first job is to wrangle all my artists to get it in, for the time we're making the animatic, just get it in on time. And then James and I and our editor, we sit there and we watch it, and James is like, man, this moment should be more dramatic. And James knows every single square inch of the script, It's like, that moment felt a little flat, we can do this and blah, blah, blah. So we leave out of the editing room with a plan, and it's just a back and forth to bring the vision alive. But yeah, that part is a lot of fun. You're just trimming fat off, like what is the scene about? What's the story? Who is Bruce or Selena in this scene? And how can we bring that out more? It's a lot of fun. It's a blast.
Who would you say has your favorite story or journey in this film, character-wise?
Probably Selena. I love it when characters bring the humanity out of characters, and she does that for Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne, the line between him and Batman is blurred. Is he Batman or is he Bruce? I would say he's more Batman than anything. But you see a lot of his humanity in this movie, and she brings that out of him. But she's a very interesting character. Like, is she a good guy? Is she a bad guy? What is she in this canon? And she toes the line between both of those a lot. And to me, that's a lot of fun to play with. It's a whole lot of fun. And putting her on screen that she's messing with Batman, and toeing the line into being a bad guy, it's a lot of fun. It's a blast. So she's my favorite, I think.
Do you see yourself kind of parlay doing live action stuff?
That's the goal, when I set out. I only started drawing, which is interesting enough. With the 1989 Batman film, my uncle sent me the making of book. And I'm like, look how much art is in film, because I wanted to be Steven Spielberg. That was my goal. And I'm like, if I can draw, then I can make movies, So that's, 30 years, here I am, as an artist who directs, So the goal is to go into more live action. But I'll tell whatever story is good, whatever medium. That comes my way. Like, whatever is the best medium to tell that particular story, I think I'll do it all. But I would love to make live action features one of these days.
So you work with some of the biggest names right now in animation, Sam Lee, James Tucker.
Yeah, Bruce, those guys. Yeah.
So maybe do you have some advice for some young up-and-comers so they can get to where you're at?
Yeah, if it was okay, I always say to myself, like, man, I wish I would have learned how to write first, before I started to focus more on drawing, art style, all that stuff. The writing is the key, sitting down as a storyboard artist. I can draw Batman kicking the crap out of Joker all day long, but it gets boring.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Why is he doing this thing? And, what is the story that you're trying to tell? Where are you trying to put this character to bring out the most dramatic moment? That's the most important thing. So focus on writing, focus on telling a narrative story. I think that's the best thing you can do if you're trying to break in.